Hey, welcome to the Communicate Responsibly podcast. This is an extra episode that I really felt compelled to make. And I'm just going to start off with a deep breath on this one. You may want to join me. Ready? That's a little better. I heard just this week that doing that audibly out loud is actually healthier than trying to stifle your deep breath in and out. I've tried it a few times and it seems to work. So, I want to talk about an important topic that I didn't want to wait until next week to talk about, because next week we're going to talk about your triggers and give you some concrete tips when you are triggered in communication. But this has been rattling around in my head since I did the last podcast on pride and ego. And some people have actually talked to me about it. And they said, when I threw this idea around, they said, yeah, you should probably do that now, because this is a good time with where we're at as a country and a society to talk about this. And what I want to talk about is going beyond I told you so in conversations. So I'll start off with a story. The last presidential election, I did not sleep for most of the night. I was out of town. I do trainings, and we were in Western New York, and I had just a tremendous amount of anxiety about this election. And when I saw the way it was going, I told myself I was just going to go to sleep, but I didn't. I kept getting up. I kept turning on the television in the hotel room. I kept checking the results. So I didn't sleep much at all, an hour or two tops. Well, the next morning I got up and we had to go for this in-person training now. And my coworker was with me, and we have different beliefs in many different ways. But he could see because I am not someone who hides emotions well, and I need my sleep. He kind of looked at me and was like, what's going on?" And I said, "Did you see the results?" He said, "Yeah. Yeah. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And I said, "You know who I am, right? You know my family, you know my story, you know my values and the people I love. This is really going to be bad for certain people." And he looked at me and said, "Oh, don't tell me you've drank the Kool-Aid too. This is not going to be that bad. It's not a big deal. Don't you believe it?" And I've mentioned before, my coping technique at those points are to kind of just shut down. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing sometimes. So that's what I did, but I can't truly express to you the rage and the fear. I guess the fear was under the rage that I had at that time. Well, it didn't take long when the new administration took over, a matter of months, really, where everything I had feared not only happened, but it was worse. And I knew that this coworker had people in their family that would be impacted by where the money would go and where the money would not go, and what people uh, were taken care of and what people were shunned, not taken care of, left out in the cold. And it didn't take long until my coworker saw that that was going to impact them as well. And I didn't have to say I told you so, because they came to me and said, "Wow, you were right. This is bad." So in that case, it kind of played out, and we were able to work through it and talk, and we have a good relationship now. That hasn't been the case for everyone in my life. And I decided when I wanted to make the Communicate Responsibly podcast that I really didn't want to get political. But folks, this is so far beyond political. We are in a place where the people in charge of our country, and there's not just one, there's many, are not only communicating irresponsibly, they are communicating in a very dangerous and divisive and hateful manner. And it will take a long, long time to fix the damage that's being done. So I don't mean to be gloom and doom about that, but I do think that is true. And if you agree with me, I hope that validates the feelings you've had. If you don't agree with me, I just want to say thank you for tuning in, listening. Hopefully, you'll continue to listen to my point of view, and maybe at some point we can sit down or talk, and I would like to hear your point of view as well. So today, that's what I wanted to highlight was it feels like we're in a place where very soon, those of you who feel similar to me, uh, will have an opportunity, if you choose to do so, to say, I told you so about the things that are happening. And I can't make you do anything, but I really want to encourage you not to do that on your path and your growth toward responsible communication. So that's what I wanted to mention today. And if you're sitting there going, well, great, Brian, what should I do? I'll give you a few things that I've been looking up and I think are helpful. So first of all, ask yourself, and this applies again to where we're at in these beliefs and where we're at right now in a society and a country, but just in general, if you tend towards saying, I told you so, ask yourself why you're saying it. That's step one. Do you want to feel vindicated? Um, are you scared? For me, I know a lot of it goes back to that fear. Do you want acknowledgement that you were right and maybe you felt unheard, that the person or people weren't listening to you? So first of all, name your emotion. And this has been something we've talked about all along in the several weeks. Name your emotion. That's the thing you can control the most. Now let's think about in a conversation with other people. When I say I told you so, what is that going to do? It's going to bring up defensiveness. It's going to almost automatically have that person's ego say, hey, you need to protect your identity. You have a lot invested in this. And again, not only will they be defensive, they may double down or they may do the comparison thing, whatever it is. So I told you so is not effective communication. It is definitely going to create discord in in your conversation and your relationships with people. Reflection of what they have said, curiosity, and openness are the target. And if you truly don't have that where the person is coming from, I didn't on election night, then for me, it's walking away at that time. And again, I'm not saying that's the best form of communication, but I would rather walk away than say something that I later would regret. And since our country has gotten into this situation, there is one definite situation that I did not walk away. I did not feel that I could, and I deeply regret it and did not handle myself in the way that I wanted to. So, so not going there is a goal for me, and hopefully for you too. So here are some things, if you're open and curious, you may ask to a person about the situation. How do you feel about what's happening right now? And if you say that, be willing to listen. What is your take on this? What's happening? And notice these are open-ended questions. If you put them out there, be willing to listen. What concerns you most right now about the things that are going on? And hopefully you can see, and rather than I told you so, and there's almost this dominance, now I'm opening this up for some dialogue. Remember, when we do these things, you're not becoming milk toast. You're not backing off. You're not letting go of your convictions at all. Some things you may want to say when it is appropriate is the situation really worries me. Or for me, I would go even deeper. I have a lot of fear about where we're at right now. Another thing you may want to say is, I see it differently than you, but I'm willing to understand your perspective. Can you tell me more about your perspective? Um, or you might say something like, I had concerns before, and I'm still trying to process what's happening now, right? So, some other questions you may want to ask the other person is, what do you think has gone well and what hasn't? You're not trying to influence or persuade. I can't emphasize that enough. But it gets a conversation and a dialogue, and maybe you'll understand in a different way. Has anything surprised you? That's another good question. What would you want to see change in the future? And as the dialogue and conversation opens up, you reflect some things, ask some questions, but remember, our intent here is not to create discord and fight, and I told you so, and I'm right, you're wrong. It's really to try to get a better understanding and to not fracture the relationship if that is important to you. Questions usually lower defenses. So does reflections, but declarations will raise defenses. And I see declarations all over the place now. It seems like so many people are dug in to their side, and I'm really concerned about how we start to undig ourselves and we start to come to the table and talk. It's why I'm doing this podcast, folks. It's not for the tens of dollars that this probably won't bring in. It really is feeling like I've learned some stuff and I hope some stuff will change. And I'm learning along the way as I do this too. So instead of labeling things, maybe go a little bit deeper. I disagree with this policy. I disagree with the language being used because to me it is very hateful. It is not open to to learning new things. And it does not seem based on science or evidence or what has happened in the history. So I have some concerns with that. The decisions that are happening concern me because being at war or taking away someone's rights or having someone be the scapegoat for things, as I look around in history and as I think about the person I want to be, those aren't things that are in alignment with my values. And notice I haven't pointed the finger at anybody or said anything. These are feelings, and this is where I'm at. So when you get that specific, it invites discussion. Again, it's open to discussion, but condemnation is just going to bring up resistance, if not shut down a conversation completely. So before you get into these conversations, again, ask yourself, why am I having them? Do I just want to vent? Do I want to get the poison out? I've heard people say, do I want to feel superior? Is it important to preserve this relationship? Do I want to influence a bunch of other people? I have found it very helpful to be around like-minded people at this time and go to rallies and be involved in things that are important to me. At the same time, I have tried to have a certain amount of open-mindedness to people who think differently, to the extent that I can process that, right? Remember your ego, remember your pride. So the short-term satisfaction of I told you so is not going to win out over the long-term satisfaction of you on this journey to communicate more responsibly, which is values driven, which is walking away without having the emotional hangover I've mentioned in the past. Notice how things affect you And I can still feel that election night. I can still feel that. It will be a day that I will never forget. Um, and I don't want to be there again either, right? Notice the things you can control and you can't control. Serenity prayer, I've mentioned in other talks, and that's important. And when it comes to opening your mouth and having communication in a relationship that's important to you, ask yourself, is this comment going to build trust? Am I looking to kind of understand with curiosity, or is there something else at play? And if it's the something else at play, you probably shouldn't say it. I mean, that's what works for me. So I have talked about my silence as sometimes a defense, but sometimes silence is maturity. The ability to walk away from certain situations when you see that this is not going to be a productive conversation is really, really important. Okay, those are the main things that I just kind of wanted to get out today. I'm heading this weekend to the hills of Vermont for a 12-step retreat. I've been going there for decades, and I'm going to be around some of the men of distinction that I did a podcast about a few weeks ago. Another deep breath. I'm really looking forward to that. So, my next podcast for next week will be about what to do when you're triggered, giving you some concrete tips when your emotional buttons get pushed in communication. And it'll be an extension of this, but I just wanted to get the idea of really thinking before I say, I told you so out, because I think we're there. And in many ways, being in the position that we're in our country, as painful and as scary as this is right now, I have hope that I think things are starting to change. And as they change, I'm going to continue to do those little steps I can do to be part of the solution. Communicating responsibly, I believe, is definitely a big part of that. Thanks, folks. Take care of yourself, and hopefully you'll tune in next week.